Hey, here we are back with episode 3 of our medium duty build, our 2020 Chevy 5500. Last episode we talked about the Kelderman rear suspension system, and I apologize, we've kept you hanging for the last 2 months here, been really busy in the shop, but we're bringing you back for episode 3 to get you up to speed on what we've done on the front end of the medium duty. So the front air ride system from Kelderman has a lot of similarities to the rear air ride system, but we'll go through it piece by piece just to show you. There's a lot of guys out there that have these medium duties that complain about the ride, like we discussed in the previous episode. The rear is the big culprit of the rough ride on these trucks, but the front is also a leaf spring, and they ride okay, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. And going to the air ride system will certainly get you there. You pretty much start with tearing the whole front end of the truck apart in regards to the suspension. All the leaf springs come off and the leaf spring shackles, front of the axle and behind the axle. The OEM shock comes off, as well as all the bracketry. The Kelderman system, very well thought out, very well engineered, nice product. It is bolting to the chassis just like it did in the rear, using a lot of OEM holes in the frame, as well as a couple new holes getting drilled. A lot of times on front axles, you'll see the 4-link arms behind the axle attaching to the frame underneath the cab. On this particular application, they've got the 4-link arms in front of the axle and the airbag mounted behind the axle. Using a lot of similar components to the rear, big heavy-duty polyurethane bushings for the 4-link arms with jam-style adjuster rods. We've got a heavy-duty panhard bar with greasable forged joints on either end. And the panhard bar is set to keep the axle square underneath the truck. Without that, the axle would be moving left to right and you'd be in a whole lot of trouble, especially being a steer axle. They use a larger single airbag on the front versus what they do in the rear. Just like the rear, it uses the mechanical leveling arm system. So we've got a mount tab on the axle as well as a mount tab on the frame with a adjustment rod between it. And that arm allows you to adjust the height on the front of the vehicle, and it's also, of course, auto leveling. Not that you're putting weight on the front of the vehicle, but it'll keep that front of the truck at the same height. Custom valved Raptor Shocks, specifically made for Kelderman and valved for the weight of this truck and the dynamics of the suspension and the weight of this axle. The very, very beefy axle that GM and International put in these, it's a spin-off of a Dana 60. Very similar components in the center with much larger knuckle assemblies and much larger brakes, as you can see. So that about wraps up the front suspension system from Kelderman. We are an authorized dealer and installer, and we've got quite a few of these new medium duties on the schedule to get these air ride systems. So if you've got any questions about the system or looking for pricing or anything at all about it, feel free to reach out to our sales team. We've got hands-on experience with them, both on the medium duty trucks as well as 3/4 ton and 1-ton trucks. Before we wrap up this video here, we'll quick show you what we've done on the interior of the truck. So these medium duty trucks from the factory, you can't get them with carpet and they only come with cloth seats. Being an over-the-road hauler, going to a lot of events, spending a lot of time in the truck with family, I wanted to have it a little bit more comfortable. So we tore the interior out of it. You can buy from GM, pretty much you can buy the floor carpet that would come in, say, a High Country or a Denali. So we did the carpet, and then we also opted to change out the factory cloth seats with catskin seat covers. So as you can see in here, it looks a lot more like higher trim level truck, which isn't available in this body style from the factory. So those are just some other special upgrades we did to this truck. So that wraps up this episode of the Build Series. Make sure you continue to follow our YouTube channel. We've got a couple more episodes left before we wrap up this truck and get ready for this year's show season. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Jason Wehrli.